Okay, so this time we're doing the growing vine rig, and there's a bunch of different ways to do this. I'm going to show one, and I'm going to start by creating a polycube. And what I'm going to start by doing is setting this on the origin. So I'll move it up, since I know that the default size for a polycube is 1 unit, I'm going to move it up in Y a half unit, and then I'm going to take the pivot and I'm going to snap that back down to the origin. So we actually want to use scale to be able to scale this cube up in Y. Now when we create the polycube, we also get the create polycube node, and from here we can control things like how many divisions we have in the height. So what we can do now is, if we graph this out in the hypershade, we can move our transform of the polycube, middle mouse drag over the create polycube node, which will bring up our connection editor, and we can connect the scale Y of the polycube to the subdivision height of the create polycube node. Now, when we scale this in Y, you'll see the cube gets subdivided based on the height, which is the start of where we're going with this. So let's get this to undo a little bit. Now what I'm actually going to do is get rid of that create polycube history node by deleting history, and I'm also going to freeze transformations just for cleanliness sake, and instead what I'm going to use is the edit mesh insert edge loop tool. And I'm just going to throw an edge loop in there, and I'm going to go over why I'm using this rather than the create polycube node later on. But for now, what you'll find is that in the attributes for the poly split ring, we have a split type which we can change from relative to multi, and then just like the create poly history node, now we have control as to how many divisions we're creating. Put that back down to 1 for now. And let's work on hooking that up the same way. Here we have our transform, and then here's our split ring. One thing I'm going to do is create a clamp, and the clamp is important because we don't want to split less than 1, meaning that if I scale less than 1 or in the negative numbers, if we connect that negative number to the divisions, we run the risk of crashing Maya or just being very unstable. So what I'm going to do in this clamp is I'm going to set the minimums to be 1. This way we can't have any less than 1 division. And I'm also going to set the max to about 1,000. This way we can't split it more than 1,000 times, because we don't want to have too many divisions also. So from there we can take our polycube into clamp 1, and again we'll get the scale Y of the polycube, and this time we're going to go into the input G of the clamp, input G being the equivalent of input Y. Then we're going to go from the clamp to the poly split ring. Now we're going to go to the output of G, and we're going to attach that to divisions. So now what do we have? Is a similar situation where we can scale this in Y and have it divide along the way.